Warning, on August 19th, we have a gnarly full moon with Jupiter squaring Saturn, and there's a lot more, so stay tuned. All right, we also are having Mercury is in retrograde, and typically that is not great for markets overall. About 75% of the time, we get a market dump or consolidation. I've looked in the history books for Bitcoin specifically, and that is typically what happens. We are getting this full moon that is directly opposite Mercury. That could cause some trouble with trading. We could have heightened emotions during this time. We don't want to be over trading as well. We don't want to obviously be emotionally trading. So those could be themes for this full moon. This is a very intense full moon. It's a moon in Aquarius squaring Uranus. So this moon is squaring Uranus. That could bring a lot of volatility and unpredictability and heightened emotions at the same time. Let's see. We have Jupiter squaring Saturn. I've been talking about this for weeks and weeks. Jupiter squaring Saturn. This could bring themes of a desire for freedom versus control. So control versus freedom. Saturn is kind of the old ways of doing things. Hard lessons in 3D reality, and Jupiter wants freedom, and it's can be overly optimistic. So we need to balance, hopefully not being too overly optimistic with being very, very practical and realistic. So perhaps, I mean, depending on what your strategy is, I can just say what I'm doing. I'm staying on the cautious side. I am setting my stop losses. I am being more practical. I am not getting lost in fantasies. I'm not being overly optimistic about what's happening in this market. We could be in for a wild ride. We could even be in for some big surprises, and that could mean dumps in the market or further consolidation. We're also getting Venus opposite Saturn. Here we go right here. Look at Venus opposite Saturn directly right there. You see how these planets are all lined up. Venus is directly opposing Saturn. That could bring more challenges in reality. Could bring hard lessons in the mistakes that we make around money, because Venus can represent money. So we want to make sure we are being practical. We are not being too overly optimistic with Jupiter, as you know, this could bring some tough lessons, some tough love. All right. Saturn tough, Venus love. Okay, let's move on here. Bitcoin predictions based on the Bitcoin astrology. So I'm Jack. I'm an engineer gone crypto astrologer, but disclaimer, this is not financial or investment advice. I'm an engineer gone crypto astrologer. On this channel, I combine technical analysis with astrology. Please subscribe if you want to receive critical crypto and astrology updates, as that's what I do on this channel. Watch this video to the end, because I'll tell you what I'm doing at the end and give a couple predictions. The August 19th full moon astrology. As I mentioned, this full moon is in Aquarius, squaring Uranus, bringing that unpredictability as Uranus typically does. And the moon is opposite Mercury. This is tough to predict, guys. Brings a lot of volatility here. Tough lessons. We're getting Jupiter squaring Saturn, direct hit on the day of the full moon. This is crazy. Full moons are very intense, and we're getting these 1 negative, 2 negatives, 3 negatives, 4 negatives. We're only getting 1 positive with Neptune sextiling Pluto, which brings a little bit of a silver lining. But we have to be very cautious here, in my opinion. So we're also getting that Jupiter square Venus and Venus opposite Saturn. A lot of negativity here, guys. A lot of challenging aspects. Some of the full moon themes are potential to be overthinking. We don't want to get lost in doing that. Over trading. I'm a little bit guilty of that. So let's stop over trading and getting lost in doing too many things. Freedom versus control themes in our individual lives and on the grand stage on this planet and for the collective. Wishful thinking versus being practical. It might be a good time to err on the practical side here and a bit more cautious. Emotional detachment could be a good time to be emotionally detached, but there could be those hard lessons in reality. Or if we are well prepared, if we're being very practical, then this could be a good time for us, could bring great rewards. Overall positive spiritual lessons. That Neptune sextiling Pluto could be the silver lining that helps us get out of the woods this month. Bitcoin astrology for the full moon. This is specifically the aspects, the planets that are hitting the Bitcoin chart. Let me zoom out. I just noticed. Oops. Okay, I got to zoom out a little bit. Let's go back to that. Okay, that looks a little bit better. However, it's not exactly how I'm wanting it. Let's, apologies. Okay, now we're good. So we are getting the Mars square Bitcoin Uranus. That's a negative. We're getting the Venus opposite Bitcoin Uranus. That's negative. A lot of negativity, a lot of challenging aspects. We are getting another silver lining with Neptune. Neptune sextiling Bitcoin Jupiter in orb. That's very minor. So there is a small silver lining here. Let's look at the charts. The Bitcoin daily chart. Let's go ahead and take a look here. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Okay, here we go. There it is. That's Bitcoin. And so we're looking at the daily. We are getting some dumpage here. All right, wonderful, guys. I think this represents the astrology that we are getting right now. There's a strange random fire alarm going up. Okay, let's move on. 58,000. Bitcoin is at 58,461. It did get all the way to 58,000. We're back below 60,000, this pretty critical level. I did a 50% level from the top down to the bottom here. And we did get 1, 2, 3 daily closes above this 50% level, which was bullish. We are dipping below, but that should be, we'll see if it stays below or if this is just a temporary correction here. Very, very tricky to gauge here. We are also having Mercury retrograde, so that brings a lot of confusion, as I am currently feeling that energy right now as I'm doing this live video. Let me know what questions or comments you guys have in the comments below. If we look at the weekly chart, we did close the last week around this level, 58,631. We're dipping a little bit below that this week. But we're heading all the way to August 19th. So this week is going to end on this full moon. That's very interesting. The good news is on the weekly, we sold all the way down to 49,000, but then that was all bought up. So let me zoom into that here. This was all bought up here from all the way to 49,000 Bitcoin, all the way back up to close at 58,000, around where we are right now. So we want to keep stair-stepping upwards. That's would, I don't really know where we're going to bounce here, but we would want to see that. I'm not sure if that's the case, as we're getting a lot of negative astrology. So very tricky here. Monthly close in July was great. We are dipping down this month, so it's tough to say where we're going to end up. But if we can close above 59,000, that would be the 50% level here, which would be ideal. Okay, we're getting that lovely fire alarm once again for no apparent reason besides Mercury retrograde, we could say. Okay, and what else we want to look at here? We'll look at this one. So we also want to look at the Pluto transits. I'll explain this here. Here's these Pluto transits. So looking at the chart on the left, I'll have to explain all this. So it's actually fairly complicated, but Pluto is transiting from Capricorn into Aquarius. The blue lines represent when Pluto, let me think. Blue lines represent when Pluto goes into Aquarius. The orange line represents when it retrogrades back into Capricorn. So we are, on this chart, we are basically, if just this left square here, we are basically over in this area right here. we have already gotten this major dump. And so these are the history books when the last time Pluto retrograded into a previous sign 3 times, like we're going to see from 2023 to 2024, the end of this year. Now, we already did get this dump here, so it's going to hopefully be recovering from here if history repeats. I would think it would be mostly like this chart over here, where we might get a strong finish to the year. However, in this chart, it does it kind of falls off before we get Pluto heading into Aquarius for the next 20 years is going to happen in November. The chart, this square on the right, darn it, it's not zooming in. Let me zoom out here. There we go. You can see the chart on the right a little better there. As you can see, this is where we're at right here. It is dumping. Correct. Historically, in I believe this is 1912, it did get a correction before another dump. So just a lot of volatility before the end of the year, and then a strong finish to the year. So I'm thinking it could either be like this one, or this one on the left. So hopefully that makes sense. A little confusing there, but let's take a look at the next chart here. Okay, so this is S&P 500 election year seasonal pattern from 1949 to 2023. The pink line is what we've been doing this year, but it didn't fill out all the way to where we're at in August. So we did head down here. We did get a correction, as many of you know, at the end of July. So we could be somewhere around here, perhaps, with the pink line specifically. But we could be following something similar to the gold line, possibly, because the gold line is when the S&P 500 went down in April, up in May, and is also an election year. So we in the pink line, we went down in April, up in May. So perhaps we could be following a similar pattern. The interesting thing is we already did get that dump. You know, the markets are pretty unpredictable. So with the gold line started correcting in August, and then September corrected, and in October got the final dump. So we have gotten an early correction in early August. So perhaps we might not get as much of a dump September, October, because we've already gotten that correction. But that could mean we're either consolidating, or maybe we do have another downward trend September, October, around there. Maybe continuing in August. Until we head back up. We could potentially head back up towards the end of the year, as all of these lines are pretty bullish to the end of the year overall. However, this gold line, it did not get back to the all-time high. It got close, but it did not get back to the all-time high in that year. So that's a possible scenario where we don't get all the way to an all-time high until potentially next year. So that's very interesting. Okay, back to this. Quick announcement, the Crypto Astro Mastermind. Before I talk about this, let me know what questions you guys have in the comments below, and I will take a look at those. But the Crypto Astro Mastermind, I do monthly Zoom group calls and monthly detailed astrology analysis, where you can receive insights on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and your favorite altcoins. You also get a Q&A with me, so ask me all your burning questions. This is a much deeper dive than these live videos. You also get a supportive group, a Telegram group, connect with like-minded individuals and investors and traders. I'll also dive into the Bitcoin historical astrology. So I'll study the past live with you to forecast the future by diving deep into the history of the Bitcoin astrology, 2009 to 2024. This is where it gets really interesting, guys. And then we could forecast the upcoming years to see what Bitcoin might do. This is a group to maximize your profits. Learns the secrets to maximize your profits towards the market peak. You get lifetime access with just one payment. You get live monthly group calls with me, yours truly. The next group call is happening very soon, and I'm going to be diving into the historical Bitcoin astrology analysis, analyzing the astrology and how that correlates with Bitcoin over the past couple decades, as well as looking at the NASDAQ historical astrology. It's going to be very, very fascinating if you're fascinated by crypto, if you're fascinated by astrology, this will be perfect for you. So definitely click the link below. So what are the Bitcoin predictions? Let's talk about that. Guys, this is so incredibly hard to predict, but major caution the second half of August. We're getting so many, as you saw, we said we're getting 4 major negative transits on this full moon, August 19th. Not looking good, looking very challenging. There's potential for also big world events. Okay, and we could see, escalations in the Middle East or in Europe or I don't know where. This is the type of astrology where we could get potentially gray swan, black swan event. So there is downside risk, I would say, based on this energy that we're dealing with and a lot of volatility. Does it guarantee that we're going to get a massive dump? No, it does not guarantee it. It just there's a high potential for it. It's absolutely possible, but it's not guaranteed. So like and share if you got some value from this video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's take a look at the comments really quick. I think better once Mercury direct. Love the updates. Yeah, Mercury will be direct, I believe, after August 28th, something around there. So heading into September, Mercury will be direct again. It won't be out of shadow, but it is more positive when it's going direct. No more downtrends. I won't allow it. Yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. We got to keep our eyes on the charts. It's not guaranteed, like I said, but there's a pretty high chance that it could happen. So I'm personally, I'm not selling like a ton of my bags, honestly. I'm just putting in stop losses. I'm just being way more cautious. I am also nibbling. I am also buying some more of my top altcoin picks that I go into in my private mastermind call that you will get instant access to. It's over an hour where I'm doing a deep dive altcoin analysis, giving my top altcoin picks that potentially have 10x to 20x possible returns. Not guaranteed. They are very high risk, but I am nibbling at some of those picks because prices are very, very cheap now. And I'm planning to hold them for the next year or year and a half. And I think they could definitely do 10x, 20x from here. If you're willing to hold them for a year, year and a half, that's what I'm thinking. But it's not financial advice. You got to make your own financial decisions. You got to do your own research, just like I have done as well. All right, guys. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm thinking. Just being cautious. The second half of August could be crazy. And it could be challenging in our own personal lives as well. So things that I'm doing is hopefully I'm planning to meditate more, long walks out in nature, anything that brings me peace, serenity, anything that brings me balance. So do those things. Whatever makes you feel, whatever helps you connect to your center. And this will help with your trading decisions as well and your crypto strategy. Find that deep inner peace, you could say. Whatever helps you feel good, feel balanced, feel connected, and less anxious and more in the zone, more present with yourself. Whatever it is, whatever activities, meditation, walking in nature, sports, going to the gym, jumping in the pool, cold plunge, going in the sauna, doing qigong, doing tai chi. There's so many things available out there. Whatever it is that you personally like that helps you center yourself, do those things, and you can thrive this month and even on this intense full moon, August 19th. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Much love to you all. Subscribe, please, because that helps the algorithm. It helps us boost this channel to more people. We got to get more eyes on this channel. And thank you so much. And like this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace, guys. Much love.